We're joined by Mark Billingham. Welcome to Word in Your Attic, Mark. Is that your attic?
Fantastic. It's not my attic. It's a bit of the kitchen. It's a bit of the kitchen. My attic is just full of old suitcases and a boiler.
Right.
But with a very impressive array of LPs behind you.
Well, yeah. I wonder how many of them you can name. Well, I know you can name all of them, obviously.
Well, I'd be a bit stuck with top left. I'll return to top left. But next to top left, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Blonde on Blonde, Squeezing Out Sparks, Move Your Head, Golden Hour of the Kinks, David Bowie's Low, Almost Blue. Moving on down to the second row, Can't Start Dancing, a stiff sampler. Yeah. Asia, Steely Dan. Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. First Specials album. Darkness on the Edge of Town. London Calling. Seconds Out, Genesis, and I've lost your picture. Is it? No, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Sorry. Okay, yeah. And I've briefly lost your big image, so I can't see what the one on the far left is. But
is it Goon Squad? I can't see the big image either. Actually, it's an Elvis Costello. Is it Goon Squad? No,
it's Armed Forces. Isn't
Armed
it?
Forces.
And the one you missed there.
Is that Lonnie Donegan or something like that?
It's My Old Man's a Dustman by Lonnie Donegan.
Oh, so that's brilliant.
Can you reach that out from where it is, Mark? I want to see the full cover because I'm imagining that there has to be a dustbin on there at some stage.
He's in a dustbin.
There you What a splendid. What a
has it got? Does your chewing gum lose its flavour on the bedpost?
No, it hasn't actually. It's one of these. I mean, I sort of inherited a bunch of albums from my mum's second husband, who wasn't much older than me, actually. He was only 10 years older. And he had all, I mean, I'll show you all this stuff, but this hasn't got that. It's got My Old Man's a Dustman, Gambling Man, Frankie and Johnny, Cumberland Gap, Warbash Cannonball, Tom Dooley, Don't You Rock Me Daddy-O.
Brilliant record.
And I think it was about $1.99 on the Hallmark label.
It's the I'm going to say, which budget label was that on? Yes,
Hallmark,
the Hallmark label.
He's in a dustbin.
And he was miserable that he was just written off by so many people as a kind of novelty singer, wasn't he? Having produced all those great, fantastic mid-50s tracks.
Well, I'm kind of amazed that he's not a person, as far as I know, who appears on the album, the very famous album cover that we'll probably talk about in a minute. I was amazed that he wasn't on there.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course. That's true. We'll come to that in a second. So, are you taking advantage of this unfortunate circumstance at the moment to play a lot of LPs?
I am listening to a lot of music. I'd be lying if I said I'm listening to a lot of LPs because there's only a stereo system. There's only a record player in one room in the house. So I'm listening to stuff on headphones as I'm walking about, and that's coming via iTunes or one of the other streaming services which are available.
Yeah, all available. No, I just wondered if you're listening to long form things, because I find I'm just putting things on and letting them run in a way that I wouldn't have done ordinarily. Yeah. I'm becoming less impatient, I think. Are you finding that?
I think that's true. There's no time to be impatient. It's kind of affecting everything. I don't know whether it's affecting what you're working on, what you're writing, but even though there's lots of time to do it, you do it, and then there's a sort of, what's the point? It all feels a little.
It's quite hard to concentrate, isn't it?
Well, in a way, doing stuff like this feels to me more important than sitting writing a bloody novel.
You've tweeted about the fact that you've been doing jigsaws.
I have never. I don't think I've done a jigsaw since I was a kid.
Oh, really?
This has been electrifying because anyone who follows Mark's Twitter feed, which I thoroughly recommend, will notice that I think it was 10 agonising days it took you to do, clearly not working all day, I hope, to do the Sgt Pepper jigsaw. And it was just brilliant because you put all these wonderful details every day saying, why did they have to wear black suits, the waxworks, and why are there so many flowers and all that stuff?
I know. Well, I made a kind of flying start. It'd been sitting in my cupboard for a while, and I thought, this is the perfect, obviously, opportunity to get this out. And you make a flying start because you know the cover so well, bits of it. So you go, oh, that's half of Tony Curtis's face. There's Fred's hair. There's John's moustache. And you put the faces together reasonably quickly. And then there's just this sea of the black jacket from the Madame Tussauds waxworks of them, and just all their names spelled out in roses. That took about 3 days.
So were you doing it all the time, or you just left it on the table and did a bit every time you drifted past?
Absolutely. Anytime I was in the kitchen,
right,
it would sit there. It's now gone. I will of course send you a picture of me putting in the last piece.
No, well, I think we
this, here it is. This, and again, this is the copy I inherited. So this I think you'll find.
Does it have the original?
Oh, you've got the cutouts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's good.
Are they proper cutouts? You can actually press them, could you? I mean, I'm not asking you to kind of.
No.
Oh, right. That's a later version where they.
Is it? Okay. But, there you go.
Oh, well. Is the inner bag still that pink psychedelic thing? That kind of done by the Fool. Oh, no, that's later. EMI. The greatest recording organisation in the world.
It's covered in adverts for other EMI recordings.
Oh, still a black top left.
Frankie Vaughan, Mr. Moonlight.
Mr. Moonlight. Move down. Who's underneath that? I can't see.
Abbey Road.
Oh, Abbey Road, of course.
So Abbey Road, Let It Be. So
Cliff,
obviously, this is a much later.
It's a bit later, yeah.
Yeah, Cliff Richard. Cliff Richards. Hank Marvin. Oh, the first McCartney album. That's how late.
Oh, a great record.
Ringo Starr's Sentimental Journey, I think, is next to it on the left, in the middle.
Yes, it is. And they also advertised Sgt Pepper, bizarrely.
Oh, in case you haven't got it. Holly's Greatest Hits.
The Holly's Greatest Hits. Des O'Connor.
1, 2, 3, O'Leary by Des O'Connor.
Oh, hang on, it gets better.
It's more.
It's double-sided. Check some of these.
Oh, just hold that up, because hold that.
Hold it up. Let's have a look.
Because I think there'll be a lot of people who want to feel that they can do that. That they can. Well, I can't, because
I can't see. It's not big enough.
Just looking at Mark Ellen at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, we've got The Magic of Marlene Dietrich.
Of course.
The Drum and Pipes of the 1st Battalion of the Gordon Highlanders.
A big seller.
What an album that was. Greek Mosaic. This is definitely slightly more Holiday in Mallorca. Just some kind of soundtrack to your holiday in Mallorca. At Home with the Dubliners. Farewell, Mr. Blackpool, Reginald Dixon.
Oh, the theatre organ.
Brilliant.
The Mighty Wurlitzer.
Yeah, and Edith Piaf and Ken Dodd.
What, together?
What, on the same album?
That's one of my. That would be a great lost album.
That's a dream.
Ken Dodd. I thought of that.
We want to see that. It's funny, talking to Marlene Dietrich, we were talking about the Craig Brown Beatles book, which I read recently. And one of the things he's good on in there is all the other stars who suddenly found that the Beatles were stealing their limelight, when they came along in the 60s. And Marlene Dietrich was one of them, I think she was on some Royal Variety performance or something like that with them. And she assumed she would be the biggest star. And then when she arrived there, she realized very, very quickly she was really small potatoes compared to these new lads. But she really quickly adjusted and decided, I'm going to have my picture taken with them. And that's how I'm going to get in the papers. So she did that very
So many of those people were knocked out of action, weren't they? Helen Shapiro, just their career just ended, didn't they?
Oh, well, there's a whole chapter in there about them going on. They were on tour with Helen Shapiro, weren't they? And then their star rose as hers fell, and they moved up the bill, and then eventually just left the tour. I think halfway through, they were too big. But her career was all over at the age of 16.
I know, at age 16.
Isn't there a rather tragic story about in that Craig Brown book, which I've got on order? Isn't it about the Singing Nun?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, Singing Nun's a tragic story on her own because she was
Dominica,
a Belgian nun. Can't remember her full name. And she made that record, Dominique, which was a huge hit in Britain and the United States.
I can still remember that vividly.
It was *1 record, just before the Beatles, and of course she was, just disappeared afterwards. The tragic story of the Singing Nun is that she gave all the money that she made from the record, which is considerable, to the holy order that she belonged to, but then had to pay the tax.
That's right.
Let that be a lesson to anybody.
Yeah. She thought God would allow her to be exempt.
Well, No, you know, if you make big contributions like that, you're still liable to the tax, you know, because the Belgian tax authority thought, "Oh, we'll have a little bit of this," you know. So that's a sad story.
But didn't she kill herself in the end?
She did. It was.
She did.
I think there was a pact with her. Well, she left the order, didn't she? And she had a lesbian lover, I think, and I think they both killed themselves later on. It's a sad story.
It is. She was one of the legion of people whose careers were just ended overnight by the Beatles, really, weren't they?
So you put your Sgt Pepper back in its box, Mark.
Back in its box, and I'm waiting for Abbey Road to be delivered.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you've ordered it, right?
Yes, immediately.
Yeah. It's addictive. How many album sleeves can you get in jigsaw form? All of them.
And you can also get jigsaws that are a kind of a montage of all the album sleeves.
Oh, really?
Big stills from Yellow Submarine, and I mean, you can get everything. Obviously, the White Album's a bit tricky.
Do you know what's officially considered to be the most difficult jigsaw in the world? I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of this one, but it's basically baked beans, right? It's baked beans, but it's double-sided. So you've got exactly the same image on the back, but at a 90-degree angle.
So it won't fit. It'll only fit one way up.
Can you imagine that? Just a sea of baked. Why would you derive any sense of satisfaction from having completed that?
There's one I read about. I've been getting quite into jigsaws, obviously. There's one I read about where you don't know what the picture is. The only way to figure out what the picture is
to do the jigsaw.
To do the clues. There's a sort of murder mystery element to it, sort of country house mystery. And as you put the pieces together of the mystery, then you also are able to put the pieces together of the jigsaw. The best thing is that on the box of my Sgt Pepper jigsaw, at one point it says batteries included? No. And then it says no assembly required, which does seem the most ludicrous thing to say on a jigsaw box. What a rubbish jigsaw that would be. Help me out.
Hopeless jigsaw. Just one piece. Just one
massive jigsaw. The easiest jigsaw. I'm not sure where I acquired this 10-inch Hank Williams.
Oh, is it 10-inch Hank Williams? Oh, yeah. Listen, let's talk about 10-inch LPs.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. That's got it going. Absolutely.
Show us that one. Come on.
Owning the Blues.
That's a great cover.
It is, isn't it? It's beautiful. But it's also what it says on the inner sleeve. And it's the way it gives you instructions on how to play it and how to take care of your, check the gramophone stylus regularly.
Absolutely.
A warm stylus will give poor reproduction. A chipped stylus will permanently damage a record. You have proper instructions on it, which is beautiful.
Very, very valuable, yeah.
It's a lovely thing, isn't it?
Well, of course, you know that in the early days of the LP, the pop stars were pretty much restricted to 10-inch LPs because they didn't think that they had enough material to justify being a whole of a 12-inch. So even the early kind of classic Frank Sinatra's and Peggy Lee's, I'm trying to think, not Songs for Swinging Lovers, but earlier ones than that, in the Wee Small Hours or whatever, originally on 10-inch. Just 4 songs either side. And I haven't got many 10-inch LPs, but I found a few the other day. Does anybody remember that? Remember that?
I'm just holding up the albums as you mentioned them.
Oh, have you got those 10-inch?
That's great.
Oh, there's a 12-inch. Oh, God, that's very
good. Again, these were inherited from my mum.
Oh, very good. Oh, they're lovely. That's Ricky.
What have you got there, Dave?
That's Ricky Lee Jones, Girl at Her Volcano.
And that's 10-inch.
Can I just reaching for one quick? Can I just chuck in my 10-inch?
Good work.
Nearby. Does anyone remember this? That is a fantastic record.
So that's 10-inch as well, is it?
It's 10-inch, yeah.
So what tracks are on that? I love it.
It's got The Trumpet Volunteer, Auntie Rotter, All the Things You Are when he's singing in the bath. Do you remember that? We Need the Money, which is absolutely brilliant, about raising money for the stately home. And then I'm So Ashamed, which is the best. It's about a 9-year-old pop star. I think it's recorded in, I think it's 1958. It's about a 9-year-old pop star who thinks he's over the hill. It's absolutely brilliant. Suddenly it's folk song where he's killed on run over by a car on the corner of Sucky Hole Street. It's brilliant. And Balham Gateway to the South. All on YouTube. I cannot recommend this book.
So is that George Martin, Mark?
It's a George Martin record.
It's all produced by George Martin. Did all those things.
Fantastic. Well, Peter and Sophia is good too, or Sophia is really good.
Comedy records.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look.
Oh, go on. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the Button Down Mind. Is that the Button Down Mind of? No, let me see.
No, that's the best of.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us the tracks on that, Mark. Come on.
Introducing tobacco to civilization.
Of course. Yeah.
It's
Nutty Walt again.
Bus driver's school. Khrushchev landing rehearsal. Driving instructor. Defusing a bomb. An infinite number of monkeys. Nudist camp expose.
Infinite number of monkeys. What a great track title.
It is. It is.
I haven't heard that for a long time.
A band.
Is that the one where they've got a room full of the idea is that the man is supervising the monkeys who are at the typewriters.
And they're trying to write the works of.
And he reads, trying to write the words of Shakespeare. It's to be is to be. I've done that gag for years. That's brilliant. I love the old comedy record. I miss the comedy record. Don't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a thing now, is it? I mean,
it's not a thing. Everything's everything's YouTube nowadays, isn't it? Really, it's not.
And the brilliant thing about the comedy record is that you had to listen to it with other people. You had to get people round. You couldn't really listen to it on your own. It was impossible to kind of enjoy it as much as. What's that one?
This is called "You Don't Have to Be Jewish."
Oh, good.
This is still my wife. This is my wife's copy with her kind of unmarried name there, and this was recorded in 1964. It was in Broadway review of kind of Jewish humor, I suppose, and it's all about kind of domineering mothers and sons having to be dentists and so forth, and I've fascinated by this record because. When Goodness Gracious Me came on the television a number of years back, which was a load of jokes about kind of Asian and Indian families, I thought, I've heard these jokes before. They're the same gags. Completely the same gags. Just moved from one ethnic group to another, because so much of it just moves.
The little detail about that fascinates me is that your wife has written her name on the front of the record.
She has.
On the front of the record.
Thus devaluing it.
Instantly.
But look, nobody back in the day ever thought, I've got a record, I better hang on to it because it might be valuable one day. Never, ever occurred to anybody. You put your name on it because you didn't want to get pinched. Well, you took it to a party or something like that.
I've always thought that about when you see valuable children's toys. You see them show up on the Antiques Roadshow, and they're like, "This is incredibly valuable. It's never been taken out of the box." What kind of child gets given a toy at the age of 8 and goes, "No, thank you, mother and father. I'm going to pop this in the loft."
I've never touched it. I've never even done wrapper.
No, most kids just take it out of the wrapper, hit it with a hammer for a bit, pour paint on it. And why? Why would you do that? Here's another comedy classic for you.
Oh,
yes.
Leaning on a lamppost. On the Music for Pleasure label, I see there.
It is, and that's a double album, $2.99.
Very good.
Again, inheriting all these old samplers, this fantastic.
Oh my goodness, I haven't seen that for a long time.
The World of Hits.
Yes, that was Decca. That was Decca's budget label.
And are they the real hits? They're not cover versions.
No, it's a real one.
Not top of the pops type stuff. Yeah.
Where the little dot that says if it's red, it's mono. If it's blue, it's stereo.
If it's blue, it is.
Yeah.
So that's mono, yes. Yeah. So they could use one load of covers, and all they had to do was change the inner bags. Decca label was forever cheapskate.
Yeah, there's some great stuff on this. Really great stuff.
Well, I think you're dealing with stuff that was mainly on the DRAM label, which was Decca's kind of hip imprint. And so Cat Stevens, and I think 10 years after, probably on a DRAM.
Wasn't that what the first Bowie album was on? Was the first Bowie album?
Yes. And the first Bowie album came out the same day as, to bring this conversation in full circle, came out the same day as a regular
Beatles album, wasn't it?
As a record we've been talking about.
It was Sgt Pepper.
It came out the same day as Sgt.
Wow.
Pepper.
That's right.
So it did get a lot of attention.
What appalling timing that is.
Well, yeah, I remember seeing this in the window of a record shop in Wakefield. There was the Supreme Sing Rodgers and Hart, there was David Bowie by David Bowie, and then there was Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Okay, here's the Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover trivia question of the day.
Go on.
Who appears on this album cover 3 times?
On Sgt Pepper?
Yeah.
Well, the Beatles are more than once.
John Lennon, well, the Beatles are all twice at least, aren't they?
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
Go on, over
That's
to
a
you,
good
Mark.
question. Now, go on.
Shirley Temple.
Huh?
I shall point her out, right?
Go on.
Go on.
So there she is.
Is she the doll? Yeah.
There she is.
That's right,
Just under.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Down the doors there. That is a doll of her.
That's right.
A rag doll of her. And she's just poking out there between John and Ringo. Those are her golden curls.
Very good.
That's amazing.
I got to know this album cover really well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'll bet you did. Mark, listen, it's been lovely talking to you.
And to you guys.
How are you going to fill the rest of the day?
Well, I will try and do some writing. While I wait for Abbey Road to arrive, I have another 1,000-piece jigsaw of animals, which is proving every bit as fiendish. And just take the dogs for a walk, possibly, if you're allowed to do that these days. I think you are, aren't you? You can take the dogs out.
Sure,
Yeah.
All the very best.
And to you.
Joy to see you,
Mark.
Fantastic.
Cheers.
Right. Bye.
See you. Bye.